I'll wait for some more people forward in that place, huh? Yeah, man. Wait for the notification and reach out. See? We'll wait for some more people join me. You're seeing people. Midas, Empress Miriam. Who they in there? Put that one in the chat, let me know who they in there. Alright? Stream from two places. Okay, Empress, Lavish. Okay. We have the educated people in here tonight, huh? I'll wait for some more people respond to the notification then. They say they like the topic, the created race, huh? Yeah, we gonna talk about them. You know, you don't know what I talk about already. Don't impress. Yeah, I hear them say the created race. Eh? Mm. You know, the created race. Eh? Maybe I should change it. Put it to hold on there. Hold on there. Hold on there. Need to edit in there. How about that one there? How about that one there, Empress? Hmm? Like that one there? So you're multitasking while at work? Yeah, me too. I'm live on TikTok and on YouTube. You know what I mean? What's good over here? Put a one in the chat. Let me see who's this on YouTube. Represent your hood, YouTube. There. Yeah. I wait for the notification go look more, you know? Bring in some of my people then. All right, Empress in the chat. Empress are joining in the chat. Yeah, over here up on YouTube. You can... Good morning. Good morning, Empress. What's going on? Good morning to you. Same thing to you. They say you like. You say you like the topic, huh? Yeah, Jesus Christ, the created way, who created us, so let's kind of skip the narrative now. So that's not us. No, that's Jesus. Let me go back to the drawing board. Mm-hmm. We have a go as far as there until it, you know, the of course, hold on, then put on the headphone. Like, I'm not hear you good. Yeah, you can hear me? All right, yeah, ready to now? Yeah, yeah, I realized that it was I was being misinterpreted. I wrote the wrong thing, so I had to. No, you actually perceived it how it was written with the right way, you know. So I realized that I had to, you know, rewrite it. You know, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, yeah. Where you reside at in the UK? Okay. How how long you been over there? How long you? Okay. You been to any other countries over there besides the UK? Spain? Oh, okay. Oh, hmm. Do they have the Black Madonna on display? Yeah, but are they showing it to the public though? Oh, yeah. And you see these documentaries of them, they're praying to and worshiping those Black Madonnas and so forth, but they don't allow us to do it. Only you know only they only they I guess are worthy to bow to them. I don't know what's their whole logic on it. You know, yeah. You know, so Yeah, so I just thought, because I know topics like these don't really you don't get much views. But yeah, like and share up the live, people. Like and share up the live. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Desiree? Okay. Okay. All right. Medaya wait for you. All right. Yeah, my people. Go on like and share up the live. You see? Go on like and share up the live. See me? See me? I'll get into it, man. That's why. Yeah. So people. Have you ever wondered where the cracker come from? Huh? I know a lot of you never really thought about it like that. You know, most of you never really took thought of that. You just automatically assume that they were always here with us. Many of you probably have even assumed that they were here first. You know what I mean? The way history is written, and the way most of us believe bedtime, right? Yeah, it's not even a thought to a lot of us, but it should be. You know, I know that they've done a great job of putting the whole world to sleep. They have, you know, and then they woke us up to this illusion of history. His story. How we terms it. But have you ever wondered how many of y'all ever really like sit down and really took thought to that? Like, who's first? Us or them? The melanated people or the cracker? Many of you might probably think to yourself, there's no way to find out, there's no way to know. Well, there actually, there are ways, there are clues in history, you dig? And there are many things, you know, if you just sit down and think about it, it don't make sense, you know. So where are they from? How did they come about? Why are they here? You know, are they a creation of God? Put a one in the chat if you think white folks is a creation of God. If you think them crackers are a creation of God, of God's creation. Put a one in the chat. I know a lot of you who grew up in the church, especially over time, you have seen those pictures in throughout Bible stories, and sleep. You've heard those Bible stories. And most of them come with, you know, a bunch of pictures of white folks. You know, Adam and Eve is white, Moses is white, Abraham is white, and they argue that shit down with you like they really know. You know, they try to narrow our thing down to, we come from, you know, melanated people come from the line of what is it, Shem, right? As if to say that prior to Shem there was no melanated people. This is why they made up this story. This is why, you know, you have to be careful, those of you who you know, aspire to books like the Bible. Big up yourself, missing you, because you can be misled. Because how how ironic it is that the line, the sun from which line we melanated people come from, just happened to be the son who his father cursed him, put a curse on him. And they have interpreted that curse to be the curse of black skin. Just look at the mental psychos they worked on us for centuries. This is how it's been. For centuries, our ancestors grew up believing this, you know, that their bloodline was cursed, and the curse was the curse of melanin. Huh? What does that do to you as a melanated person growing up with that thought in your head? You know, how does that shape your perception of yourself as you grow, right? Once we get to understand that this was all done by a deliberate act, we start to free our mind and start to see what we need to see. You know, we start to see the cracker the way we should see him, as a fucking misfit. You know, and if you look around the world, that's all you see. The results of his work. It's a bunch of misfit shit. Nowhere in the world where you look, you can point to anything good and just by way of a cracker. Nowhere. Huh? Look around the world. Nowhere. You understand? I challenge you. Just look around the world and prove me wrong. And find me one good thing that you can point to that they have done, that they have introduced to mankind. Well, just say humanity, because mankind really, that label is more for them. It fits them. They're kind of a man. You know, they weren't created by the Heavenly Father. They were an experiment, genetic experiment, right? Put a one in the chat if you have ever heard of a place called the island of Patmos. If you're a Christian, you should have heard of it. Put a one in the chat if you've ever heard of a place called the island of Patmos, or some pronounce it Ptah, but I believe it's spelled Patmus, Patmos. Put a one in the chat if you're familiar with it. If you ever heard of it. If you ever heard of it, put a one in the chat. If you ever heard of the island of Patmos. Right? Nobody? All right, put a one in the chat if you're a Christian. If you're a Christian, a devoted Christian, put a one in the chat. But this should be interesting to you. Right? My correction, I believe it's spelled maybe Patmos. I guess different places pronounce it differently. Pretty Toya, you're a Christian? That one is for yes, you're a Christian? Okay, you're a Christian? Are you so you've never heard of the island of Patmos? Okay, it's in the Bible, right? Okay, it's in the Bible, my friend. You know, they have it. If you look it up, they're gonna give you an island of Patmos off in the Greek islands. You know, but that's not it though. You know, this Patmos that I'm speaking of, you really have to go do some encyclopedia type of research. Google is gonna be hard pressed. Google is not really gonna give it to you. But it's an island located in the Pacific Ocean, right? You're not really going to see it on most maps, especially modern maps, because the island they try to keep secret away from the public, you know. But I don't know if you ever hear this story of the Nation of Islam from Farrakhan, where they speak of this island of Patmos, and on this island, a lot of genetic experiment used to take place. You see, and there's some truth to it, you know. Believe it, there's some truth to it, people. It's not just the Nation of Islam thing, you know. You can there's CIA documents that corroborate these things and confirm them. You know, unclassified documents from the CIA that confirm these things. You know, so there's some truth to those stories. Now, if you take that and in consideration with how history is written and presented to us, including the Bible, because the Bible is a history book as well. However, believe it or not, a lot of the stuff you read in the Bible is amounts to folklore stories. You know, um, fictional stories in the way they're written. You understand? The way God is presented in the Bible, it, you know, is also fictional. You understand? The way it's interpreted, the way you've been taught to interpret God in the Bible, is a fictional way of looking at God. And the purpose of that is to really stray you away from God. Do understand this, people. And I really want y'all to keep this in, lick this down the head. You see? We are a people that went through, you know, institutionalized and chattel slavery. You understand? And one of the main instruments that was used to perpetuate the cycle of slavery, even till this day, is what you would call the Holy Bible. Now, you will have many pastors get up in pulpits, like Pastor Jennings and all of them, and they'll swear to you that, this is the unadulterated word of the Most High, God, the Creator, the all living, knowing, the omnipotent, the Omega, the Alpha. They'll have you running around, believing that by the way in which they explain it to you and deliver it with the passion they deliver it with, it's all a part of creating that illusion, just like the illusion they created about the very planet that we live on, or should I say the earth itself. You know, the illusion that they have created, the lies that they teach us in schools, the stories, the grandeur stories that they make up to keep us blinded from the truth, right? It's a real thing. You understand? And of recent, I can say more people are waking up to a lot of this lies that's been told to us over centuries, right? Now, you know, you see the question there, who created them? Well, if the melanated people are the first, then it's fair to say that we created them, right? But are we even just? Am I even just asking such a question? Who created them? Because I'm literally saying, questioning, you know, are they a creation of God? You know, and I know many would have issues with that. There are many I know who would come up here and try to tell me, yes, they are, and all men are created equal, which is a bunch of bullshit because all men aren't created equal. Men and women aren't equal, you know, as much as we would want to be. But unfortunately, we are all not Usain Bolts. We are all not a Safa Power. You understand? And for many different reasons. You know what I'm saying? We're not all J.A. Rogers. Not all of us can be scientists and engineers. Not all of us, you know, can work. No matter how much we work, you will never be the strongest man in the world or woman in the world. No matter how much you study, many will not make it to be labeled as the smartest minds in the world. You have some kids, they finish universities at 16 years old. And some people, they're 26, 30 years old. So we're not all equal. Some people can hold their breath underwater longer than some. Some people are excellent swimmers while some can't swim at all, right? Some are excellent drivers while some are, you have to drive for them or they will kill you. So we're not all equal, right? Likewise, women to men. Women are not equal to men. You know, automatically men have bigger lungs. You understand? So automatically that physically puts us ahead of them. But we have been taught this type of knowledge to blind us, right? To waste our time. Because just imagine all the years you wasted in school learning a bunch of lies, right? Imagine if you spent those years learning the truth, a truth that you can build on, how much wiser you would be. But the mere fact that you now have to spend so much time now brainwashing yourself, right? from all the brainwash that you got originally. You understand? When you that time, this time could have been spent building more truth on the truth that you already learned, further advancing us mentally and spiritually, as well as physically. But instead, there's just this purpose push to keep us in the dark on every level, both mentally, spiritually, and physically. Keep us in the dark. I mean, just look at the food they present to us. They present life, society, and the world at large to us as a choice. So if you're given a choice, then there's no need for you to think. So if you're always given choices from the day you were born, it was all about choices, then someone else is thinking for you and they're putting forth the options for you. And all you have to do is pick the one that best suits you. So therefore, you spend no time thinking. You spend no time learning how to think. All you have to do is wake up and pick because someone has already done the thinking for you. You understand? But you, you see, when you're a thinking man, you don't wait for someone to prepare and package your food for you. You do it yourself. You don't depend on someone to bring electricity or water to your house. You do it yourself. But instead, we now have to pay people every month. We have these bills that we pay to these people to render these services to us. Services that we should have been taught how to render to ourselves. So you're always caught in this cycle of slavery. You have to get up, go out, and work for these people, or they will cut your lights off. They will cut your water, your gas off. They will remove you from the property in which they loan you if you don't get up and go and work for them. That is basically what the system says, and everyone has to do it. So if everyone does this and does the same thing, then it's clear and evident that none of us is thinking. Other people are thinking for us. Only thing we do is make the best choice for ourselves. Bless up yourself, months. Right? Put a one in the chat, yo, if we on the same page, man, because I don't want to lose nobody. You know what I mean? I really know topics like these don't get much views, A lot of times we don't want to learn about ourselves and what's going on. We just comfortable being slaves, modern day slaves. We hate to hear those facts, those truths that we're modern day slaves because we don't want to feel guilty, right? For not doing what we know we should be doing, which is still fighting for our liberation. They've made being a slave so comfortable, so accepted, so okay, you know, that when someone comes up and start speaking against it, we ostracize them. You understand? When we should be embracing them. Yo, people, tap up the screen. We should reach like 10,000. I know it's only 10 of y'all up in here, but if you like the topic I'm putting in the work, y'all put the work in, We get to, we put in 10,000 likes an hour. You heard, peoples? So if y'all like what's going on, just put that work in with me, and tap up the screen. We got 40 minutes in, 20 minutes is going to be an hour. We want to make sure we at 10,000 by that hour. You heard? We don't want to get behind the clock. You know what I mean? I'm giving y'all my energy. You know, I'm looking forward to y'all giving me back y'all energy as well, right? So do the adjusting and tap up the screen, good people. You heard? That's what's up. For those of you who can, Don't know. Power tap up the screen. Same way. You see me? Yeah, man. Same way. Appreciate it. Now, the Empress said she not go forward back, but me not see her forward back still. Yeah, pretty tired, Definitely in modern day slavery, Sound like we're going in a tire. Jump up in our box, man. Make a talk, man. You see me? In the meantime, just, power tap up the screen. Want some power tap to it. You see me, peoples? Don't know. Teamwork, make the dream work. Yeah. So, you know, so the question, who created them? Who created these people? As I was saying, well, if we are the first, then obviously we are the one who created them. And I've read somewhere in my studies that, from the albino genes, because two black person is able to come together and produce what you call an albino gene, melanomas, and from this gene, it was isolated, and they brought forth a degenerate gene, a recessive gene, a weaker gene, a gene because of its state of weakness. It relies more on trickery and just pure unadulterated evil. Basically in order to stick around. You know, and when I say stick around, I don't mean like they would melt away, but meaning in their powers as well. You know, uh, um, 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 which would include things like um, their colonial stance, throughout the world in places like America, the UK, and all of these places. All these places are colonized lands. They're indigenous to none of these places. There's nowhere on planet Earth where you can find, Cracker Man indigenous to. And I would challenge anyone who who would want to prove me wrong. You can't show me nowhere on planet Earth where there's indigenous white folks. Why is that? Tap up the screen, people. See them where. Why is that? Why on earth there is nowhere you can find an original tribe, an indigenous tribe of white folks? The only thing we know of them are these Neanderthal pictures that they keep presenting to us, these fictitious pictures. But you ever notice in none of these presentation of these false narratives and images that they put forth of themselves, you find no language, you find no alphabets, you find no representation of numbers, of nothing, science of nothing. All you see is these pictures of these Neanderthal looking creatures. Ooh, 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 that's it. That's all you find, right? But nowhere in Black history do you find men at those subhuman levels where we where our communication was as such, like monkeys. We never communicated like that. We always had language from the very beginning and understanding of language, right? We always had our writings. We always had numbers and letters and drawings that represented them. But nowhere in white history do you see any relics, any evidence or trace of these things that we can connect them to. You cannot connect white folks to nothing called antiquity, nothing called ancient history. Egypt, Europe, Asia, the Americas, they are indigenous to no land, to nowhere. White folks come from nowhere on this earth. They are a genetically engineered race of people, right? You can't find no history of white folks nowhere outside of slavery and war and famine. And when you speak of times like the dark ages and all these errors in time, these points, these highlights in time are all of white folks, the cracker man's doing. All the dark times in history, the worst times in history, you will point only to white folks. Feel free on YouTube, feel free to call in on WhatsApp to join the conversation. There's the number on the screen in the chat right there, the WhatsApp number. Okay, so feel free to call in if you're interested in joining the chat. Hit the thumbs up. We also live over here on TikTok as well. Simultaneously. So listen, man. You see the super chat, people. If you like the program, you done know the thing already. Support the effort. You heard? That's what's up. So you know, we're pointing out. I'm pointing out the fact that these people they come from what we know albinos, and the albino gene was genetic laboratories was experimented on. You understand? And it wasn't just the human genome. They tell you things like the human genome is something that they discovered of recent years. Lies. Human genome been cracked. Just like they will tell you, they invent all the different patents that you see, in the United States Patent Office. They'll have you believe that they're responsible for them when they're not. Most of, if not all of the patents that have anything to do with moving humanity forward was created by melanated people. But the credit of it was given to the people of the lesser, the recessive gene. You understand? And if you just look around the world, that is all you can't point to no other group of people that have behaved like these people through history. These people are known for one thing and one thing only: pillage and plunder. That's it. And they teach that in everything they do. They put it in your face to let you know that is what we do, so you get the understanding of that. It's all a psychological play that they use on us, all the same. Yeah, Pretty Toya, they always stole our ideas. That is what they do. They not only stole our ideas, they stole us. The school, no man. They even stole us, my friend. I mean, look at this black man, General Langley, right? 4-star general, right? Look how they have him running around Africa betraying his own people. Huh? Just look at it if you know anything about him. You see? This is how effective these people are. Right? They have made out of him a good, loyal, obedient nigger, slave, whatever else you want to call it. Understand? Real good job. So they've set the thing now to where we have become our own worst enemies to each other. We wake up every day blinded to who the real enemy is. Right? So as I say again, who created them? We already know. How we know this? How do we know this? Because they do not sync with nature. Nature works against them. And because of it, they hate nature. So in their endeavor of high science, their mission is to destroy nature. Am I lying? Just look around you and you see the evidence of it. While we have so much pollution, it's not our doing. While the ozone layer, according to them, is being eaten away, it's not our doing. While the oceans are getting polluted, it's not our doing. While our food that we eat is killing us slowly, it's not our doing. Just look at all the things. These are the actions of weaker genes. I tell you no lie when it comes to that. You see me? Yeah, Toya, that's real talk. Come up in our box, Natalia. I'm feel lonely. Come and talk about it. You know? And just look through history. Why, through history, there's a clear pattern. There's evidence to show a clear pattern of them attacking and killing all of our real black leaders. Only the token black leaders are left alive, the ones who play along. But the ones who go against the grain and says, no, I want true freedom, what happens to them? Keep tapping up the screen, people. We almost reach an hour. Don't stop tapping up the screen, yo. You know, we want to stay up in the ranks, yo. We want to stay up in the ranks. You know, so good people, keep tapping up the screen. What was I saying? I lost where I was at. You know, this is why we just need to just do the work, you know, so, because, you know, I don't write none of this stuff. I don't plan none of this stuff. So I just go. I just turn on my camera, feel the vibes, feel the energy, and I just go. You know what I mean, people? So y'all got to go with me. You know, while I do the talking, you know, y'all handle the rest of that shit. You know what I mean? So tap up the screen, my peoples. Let me see them hearts going up. You know, if not, then I guess y'all just saying this is, you know, y'all ain't feeling this topic right here. So maybe I should just go on my bed, right? Okay, that's where I was, Twiggy. So they was destroying nature. Yeah. Right. So they are the enemies of nature. Nature is their enemy. We have all these man-made earthquakes, man-made tsunamis, man-made storms. They have the machine called the HARP, right, or HARPO, it's the manipulation of weather manipulation machines. We hear of stories of them seeding the clouds. You know, which is what happened to Dubai the other day when they flooded all everywhere over there was flooded because it got out of hand. You dig? I mean, they are the only people in history to ever use a nuclear weapon bomb, much less a weapon, on a people. The only people who's ever done so, right? And they knew what was going to happen. And the crazy thing is about it, the war was over. They didn't need to drop them. Not one, but two. Two nuclear bombs they dropped. One on Hiroshima, one on Nagasaki. You know, that just tells you the level of their evil. And they know the destruction of it. That's why you see them fighting so hard to keep places, people like Iran, from obtaining it. Because they know the damage, the power that it does. They're aware. A lot of things they don't want done to them that they quickly and easily do to others. You heard? They don't want to lose their standard. They don't want to lose their powers. So they have designed and created a system to keep that control. You know, just look around. This is why you see they have all these meetings, these annual meetings. They name them the G7s, the G20s, the G this. That's why they have organizations like the United Nations, organizations like CARICOM. You're under the guise that these organizations were created to work for your benefit when you couldn't be any further from the truth. These organizations were created to spy and to control you, to control your nation, to control you as a people. You understand? That's the purpose behind them. You dig? And all of this, and I do mean all, is brought about all the problems in the world, all the troubles in the world. It's caused and started by the cracker. All of it. You know what I mean? And it's their hatred for the melanated people because they know you as a melanated person, you are everything they wish they could be, but know in their hearts they could never be. They know you are one with nature. So as they hate you, they also hate nature, and vice versa. And as you see them destroying and dismantling and disrupting the natural flow of nature, likewise, yourself as a melanated human, they are destroying, disrupting, all of the above. Yes, it's in their blood, Toya, to just naturally hate us for nothing other than the fact that We are the true children of God, while they are an experiment. You ever hear them date history back 6,000 years ago? They say history is 6,000 years. Well, what I want you, there's truth in that. So you just have to pick out the sense. But they're telling you that they have only been here 6,000 years, which I don't even think that was that long. I don't think white folks have been on this earth for more than 3,000 years. I don't think they've been on the earth for any time longer than that. You know, and crackers is no older than 3,000 years old. Understand? Nowhere you can look back in antiquity and history and find a trace of them. You can't find a tribe of them nowhere. Huh? You can't, they're not indigenous to no land on the face of the earth. Just think about it. Every piece of land that they control now was colonized by them. It is not, they're not original from any of these places that they now occupy due to colonization. Yet and still, everywhere you go on the earth, you find tribes, right, who holding up old tradition. All the tribes that's holding up ancient and old traditions, they're all melanated people. You can't go to no rainforest. You can't go nowhere in the Caucasus Mountains, nowhere. You can't go nowhere in Europe. A tribe where any of these people can trace themselves back to. Not one. You can't find no papyrus, no scriptures. You can't find no archaeological evidence. You can find absolutely anything that you can point to and say this is the origin of the cracker man. You can't, you created no alphabets, you created no letters, no language, all of the language down to the English language, which you'd want everyone to believe that that is a white man's language and white folks came up with that language. Couldn't be any further from the truth. You know what I mean? Peoples, been out here an hour, right? We're going to continue this another time, right? Probably tomorrow. It's a topic y'all interested in. I'll be here about it tomorrow. I can see y'all ain't really got the energy right now, you know what I'm saying? So we're getting it tomorrow after y'all rest up. You know what I mean? We're boring out here alone. Big up on yourself. See you tomorrow, you know. All right? You too. Bless up on yourself. See you in another lights.